And we are here because lately George R.R. Martin felt it necessary to do everything but Right Winds of Winter. He felt it was necessary to bring back extinct species back to life, to play Jurassic Park. Then Right wins. The man will do everything but get this done. But on today's podcast, we're going to go over the Direwolf Resurrection news that's got everyone talking. But when it comes to stuff like this, I'll admit I don't know too much about it, which is why I've brought on someone from my small council, Mr. Trey the Explainer, who does. Hello, Trey.
Hello.
For those of you who aren't aware, Trey is a member of my small council as my master of genetics and my master of what looks good in lingerie. And I feel as though both of those qualifications would be appropriate for this topic. Before we go into the whole direwolf situation and the genetics of it all, Trey, please tell the audience how you're so well versed in this topic.
Yeah. That's a surprising thing when people brought this up, because I jumped on, because this blew up on Twitter and other stuff where everybody's talking about it. And when I said something, people were like, so you're the expert? And I wanted to be like, well, I'm not an expert in it, but like I literally did my bachelor's in genetics, which was very hard. That was a hell of a degree to get. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I chose genetics as my degree. And I've worked in a lab undergrad, like that's adjacent to this, that it's a lab that worked on tangentially, like it's kind of really the Chickenosaurus project, if you ever heard of this. I don't know.
What is that?
It's a similar project where they're trying to resurrect a dinosaur, and it's extremely similar to this story. But yeah, I worked in a lab undergrad working on a project that fed into that Chickenosaurus project. So I got some background, I got a little experience in genetics, and I know what they're talking about in ways that it seems that the majority of people don't. So yeah, I'm not like a super qualified expert, but I know more than most, I feel like. So yeah.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of these publications are essentially touting is that they've resurrected the direwolf. Now, I have to ask you this straight up, Trey. Did they really resurrect the direwolf? Is this a thing that they've done?
They did not. No, contrary to the Times article and what all the people are posting, what the company is saying, they did not resurrect a direwolf I don't think in any meaningful way. Yeah. What they did, okay, I guess I can explain what they did.
Please.
What they did is, this is a company called Colossal. They're kind of known. They've done stuff similar to this a couple months ago, and then I think even before then. So what they did is the direwolves are real. They were a real extinct species that George R.R. Martin was inspired with and brought them into Game of Thrones. And there's tons of fossils of direwolves, and Colossal says that they've sort of got the bones and gotten DNA out of them, and were able to reconstruct some of the genome. And then, this is where the gray wolves come in. So they took modern gray wolves and compared their DNA with the direwolf DNA, and basically we're like, okay, we're going to edit these genes already in the wolves and edit 14 genes to make them similar to the variants of those genes in direwolves. So they didn't insert any DNA. That's the thing, is they didn't do anything like that. They only edited 14 genes that are already in gray wolves, to make them the variants of those genes that are in direwolves. And so basically it means that they gave them larger size, white fur coat and stuff. And if you actually read the article, some of those genes aren't even the same genes like that are in the direwolf. They're like, okay, there's a white fur color gene in the direwolf. But if we change that same gene in the gray wolves, it causes them to be like deaf or something. So they're like, okay, we're going to change a different gene to make the fur coat white. So basically they just were like, we're going to superficially make this gray wolf resemble a dire wolf, by tweaking some genes that are already in the gray wolf. But that's the weird thing, is that we don't even know if dire wolves have white fur and stuff like that. That's something that Colossal claims that their research proved. but because they didn't publish, we don't know if that's actually valid or not. But yeah, no, to give you the short, oh my gosh, I'm talking way too
No,
I think
you're
I'm
fine.
overly complicating it.
This is interesting.
Basically, in the short, they did not resurrect the direwolf in any meaningful way. They didn't de-extinct the direwolf. They took gray wolves, edited only 14 genes out of like 19,000 or something crazy like that, and then left everything the same. So it's like, it's to call it de-extincting or resurrecting the direwolf is really silly, because it's basically just like giving an elephant longer hair. Like, you took an elephant and you edited its gene to make it have longer hair, and you're like, look, I resurrected the mammoth. And you're like, well, that's still an elephant. It's just an elephant with slightly longer hair and stuff. But for some people, that's enough. For some people, that's enough. For most geneticists and stuff, that's you're making a designer pet. Which is something that's been done before. Like when people put glow-in-the-dark genes and fish and stuff and sell them as pets. Like, it's nothing super new, and you're not making new species or anything. It's yeah. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Is this a step in the right direction to bringing back this thing, this creature?
I don't think so. That's the thing, is I don't think so. Some people say yes. Here's the thing, is that's really kind of confused the story, is that what they did is technically very impressive. I think they claim that this now holds the record that this is the organism with the most gene edits that they've brought into embryo and stuff. Mm-hmm. Which I think it's 20 edits, which I guess is a record. 20 edits over 14 genes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for genetics that is. And so that's impressive on itself. Like, that's cool that you were able to edit an organism with 20 edits, and that it carried on to full term, didn't have too many diseases or illnesses or anything like that. But they definitely have overstated themselves and misrepresented what they did. Because at the end of the day, the idea of de-extincting an animal, like Jurassic Park, like cloning it, taking the genome and then cloning it fully resurrecting it, is basically impossible. I've had professors, I've talked to geneticists, I've read books written by geneticists about this question, and it's basically impossible. Like, resurrecting the mammoth completely isn't really viable. Resurrecting direwolf, like any extinct species, is not really viable to resurrect them. So that's why you have projects like this, where you edit a living organism to resemble an extinct animal. Like, you take a living animal that's closely related and edit it so it superficially looks like that extinct animal, which is what they did. It's like the editing an elephant to be hairy and stuff, which is like the Chickensaurus project is like that. The one that I kind of contributed to, I guess. I worked in a lab that fed into it, where the Chickensaurus is dinosaur, like Velociraptor and T-Rex are extinct, but birds are their descendants, and they have traits that are similar to dinosaurs. So the idea of the Chickensaurus project is you edit a chicken to present have tiny teeth and a tail, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's still a chicken. It's still a chicken. Mm-hmm. It's just a really weird chicken. And that's what they've done with this gray wolf. Is these are weird gray wolves. These are not dire wolves. These are gray wolves that have been tweaked and edited to look like how a dire wolf might have looked like. But that's the thing, is paleontologists that actually know dire wolves are like, these don't look like dire wolves. So they really don't look like dire wolves. They just look like, that's the thing that's been criticized with. It's like they look like Game of Thrones dire wolves, which are just giant wolves. But real dire wolves may have been closer, aren't actually wolves. They're not in the same genus, and they are probably closer related to jackals and looked very different. So it's very superficial. This project is super superficial. And that's why where people are thinking it's just a publicity stunt. Cause the thing is Colossal, They had a story about woolly mice. I don't know if you saw this either. Like,
I remember
where
something brief about this a while ago, yeah.
yeah, this is the same company that did the woolly mice, where they tweaked some genes and some mice and gave them longer fur and gold and like golden fur, and we're like, look, it's a step towards the mammoth, and you're just like, like I guess, like you're like it was basically a prototype version of this, where they just went in there and edited a couple genes to make it look interesting, and then you end up with woolly mice. So that's Colossal. Colossal. I'm a little suspicious of it now. Like, I was suspicious of it with the woolly mice thing because I thought it was kind of like they were overstating themselves and just kind of claiming stuff that I don't think they really earned. And with this story, like, a big criticism of Colossal is they took their research to the press before they published stuff in peer review, like in, I don't know, the thing that you typically do in science. Which is kind of unprofessional and unscientific, because peer review basically makes sure that what you're saying, what you're claiming is actually true. You know, like that other scientists come in and fact check what you said and what you claim. So the fact that they took this to the press and took this to Time magazine, which I think Time's article, like you can tell that the author isn't super familiar with genetics. They make a couple of mistakes. Just I think kind of shows that they're not careful about it, like, and you can see that all this people have misunderstood what they did, and they've kind of sort of misrepresented what they did. So
I see the Time cover here. It says Time, and it says extinct, but it has a red line across it with a wolf at the bottom.
Yeah, and that's just not what they did. Like the Colossal, like redefined the term de-extinction. Like Colossal is like a Twitter account and like a Reddit account that it's been like, that intern or whatever is working their ass off, because I keep on seeing them trying to defend the like, because everybody's coming out of the woodwork, like especially like scientists are calling this out for what it is, where it's like, you didn't really de-extinct the direwolf, like you just took a regular wolf and edited it to be weird. So like, and the intern for Colossal was basically like, well, like the general definition of de-extinction is like to bring something back or to make something look like something that came back. So like their argument is that if they just make it look like a direwolf enough, it is a direwolf, which is just, I don't think that's how it works. And then when you only edit 14 genes, like, I don't think that's enough either.
So unfortunately, what you're telling us is that we're very far away from Jurassic Park. That's pretty much
Jurassic Park, like the de-extincting, and I think the way that most people understand it is like super far away, if not like impossible. Like the only thing that's kind of viable right now is projects like this, where you're taking a living animal and using CRISPR to edit it to look like an extinct animal. Like it's not much different than like, oh gosh, people used to breed, what's that, like that big furry dog breed that's from the Chow Chow? Like the Chow Chow was allegedly bred by ancient Chinese to look like a lion. And you can kind of see it. And the thing is like, okay, you bred the Chow Chow to look like a lion. That doesn't mean it actually is a lion, you know, like that's kind of what they did just with gene editing. It's all superficial right now. Like, so I don't know, because their next goal is to edit elephants and to make them hairy and look like woolly mammoths, which I don't know if that's I don't think that really, like, it's a hairy elephant, you know, and there's weird aberrations in any species and stuff. I don't know. I'm very cynical about it, and I think and I don't know, I've kind of picked up that Colossal's a little sleazy. I don't know. We'll see. Like, I think it's really sleazy to go to the press and not publish stuff through peer review, because their woolly mice thing, which was they took to the press like half a year ago, or I think 5 months ago or something. They haven't published that either, and it's been a while, you know. So like, I don't know. I'm very suspicious of this Colossal, which George is a donor for. I've seen a lot of people are investors in Colossal. Like Elon Musk wants to be a part of it and stuff. So I think it's going to be kind of like crypto, where
That's good.
It's kind of just tricked rich people that don't really that think that they know science, and yeah, I don't think they like. I think it's important to call this stuff out. And it like I don't want to like totally demean what they did, because what they did is impressive and interesting. It's just not what they claim it is. But yeah, they want money. They need funding.